Professor G-Man Lopo.
Alright, so we are now in this chapter 2, sorry, not chapter 5, but chapter 2. We'll discuss first about the cost behavior. Alright, and next meeting, on the next video, I will discuss about the essence of your cost volume profit analysis. Okay, today class, what I will discuss is only chapter 1 up to chapter 3. Alright, so it is number 1, distinguishing or just to distinguish between your variable and fixed costs. Alright? And number 2, explain the meaning and the importance of the relevant range. Alright? And number 3, explain the concepts of the mixed costs. Alright. So, basically, in this video, I will discuss only 1, 2, and 3. Mixed costs is that we will be able to separate the variable and your fixed costs. Okay. How can you separate, or how do you separate your variable and fixed costs in the mixed costs? So you have 3 methods, which are number 1, high-low method, least regression method, and scatter graph method. But in this video, in this review lecture, I will only discuss about high-low method and your least regression method. All right. Number 4. It will be part of the next class or next video about the components of the CVP analysis. And number 5, indicate also the contribution margin and the computation of it, and identify the break-even point. Then margin of safety, then the formulas for determining the sales required to earn a target profit, and describe the essential features of the cost volume profit analysis. So it will be discussed on the next class. All right. So ito class, my focus is about the cost behavior for now. It is more on the variable cost, the fixed cost. You have your relevant range, you have your mixed cost, and identifying the variable and the fixed cost component. This class will be discussed on the next video. All right. Before that, ano ba ang ibig sabihin ng cost behavior? Alright, so cost behavior analysis is the study of how the specific cost respond to the changes in the level of activity of the activity within your company. Ano ibig sabihin? Okay? How your variable cost and your fixed cost will respond to the level or to any changes in the level of activity. Ano ba yung changes in the level of activity? That's your, very good, changes in terms of your sales. Yes. So meaning class, the starting point in this cost behavior analysis is measuring the key activities in terms of your activities. Alright. So, di ba, in the CVP analysis, ang sabi, you will only react or respond to the changes of the activity level if there would be a change in your sales. Sa Tagalog, kung may magbago or kung may mabenta ka or wala. For example, what would be your activity level? If you are in the retail company, the number of your sales, sales peso, and at the same time, sales in dollar. Alright. And number 2 is all about miles driven. All right. So what do you mean naman of miles driven? It would be able to have the tracking company, especially in terms of ilang kilometro or miles na ba ang na drive mo. Okay? In terms of hotel, of course, it would depends on the room occupancy. All right. Room occupancy or hotel. And the last one is dance studio, number of enrollees in your dance class. Of course, if you are in your school, the LSU, UM Manila, San Beda University, Ateneo, it would be the number of enrollees that will take BS Accountancy or any other course. That would be your activity level. Alright. So meaning class, no? In terms of your cost behavior, all right? For the activity level to be useful in your cost behavior, there should be a correlation between the level of volume and the changes in cost. Kaya nga class, that's your cost behavior. How your variable cost, how your fixed cost will respond or will react in the changes in your activity level. Yan. That's why activity level selected is referred to as the activity or the volume index. Kaya nga in the CPA board exam, all right? In terms of the cost that will react or response to the activity level, it would depends on the number of sales or number of peso, all right, that will be able to sell. All right, that's why here class, no, in terms of your activity index, no, it identifies also the activity that causes changes in the behavior at the same time in terms of your cost. All right, so that's why class, no, that's one of the things that we need to consider, that in every cost or in every activity level, ano ba ang mangyayari sa variable cost, the variable cost per unit, the fixed cost, and your fixed cost per unit. Later class, I will discuss about the how the cost will react or will change in every level or in the changes in your activity level. All right. Next one, we'll discuss or we'll distinguish between the variable and your fixed cost. Ano ba ang kaibahan ng variable and your fixed cost? Okay. Variable cost is that variable costs are the costs that vary in total. Please take note of the word or the words, no? Directly and proportionately with the changes in your activity level. Anong ibig sabihin class, no? It will respond or it will react in the changes of your activity level. Meaning it will change, no? Proportionately and directly. For example, class, no? What if your sales will increase? Okay, anong mangyayari in your direct materials? Direct materials is the example of variable cost. For sure, if the sales will increase, direct materials will also increase. What else? Your direct labor, no? If your sales will increase, direct labor will also increase. How about the overtime of their employees, like the factory workers? It will also increase. Why? Because overtime is part of the manufacturing overhead. It will also increase. All right. What else? In terms of the period cost, no? By the way, when you say about variable cost here, meaning it is both variable and your fixed cost. Hindi lang siya more on product cost. Okay? So in terms of increase, no, of your sales, anong mangyayari sa ating sales commission? It will also increase. Alright. But in terms of the variable cost per unit, no, in the CVP analysis, no, variable cost per unit will remain the same regardless of your activity level. Hindi magbabago class, no? Hindi magbabago ang ating variable cost per unit. Again, we go back to our discussion. Alright? So, in terms of your variable cost total, it will vary in total directly and proportionately with the changes of the activity level, while the variable cost per unit will remain the same regardless of your activity. Alright. So when you graph this one, if you notice, if Damon Corporation manufactures radios and contain $10 of digital clock, na activity index is the number of radios. For example, please take note of your total variable cost, di ba? Ano nangyari? The cost will increase and radios produced will also increase, while the variable cost per unit will remain the same. Alright. Next one. How about in terms of the fixed costs? Fixed costs are the cost that remain the same in total regardless of the changes in your activity level. Meaning to say, fixed costs will remain constant regardless of the changes in your activity level. Ano yung sabihin yan, sir? If tumaas man ang sales or bumaba man ang sales, wala akong pakialam, no? With your salary of your supervisor, salary of your plant manager, because their salary is fixed regardless of the activity level. Kahit yung cost ng president of the company, which is also part of the period cost, salary of CFO or accountant, because they are monthly paid, diba? Their cost will remain the same regardless of the changes in the activity level, while the fixed cost per unit will vary inversely with the activity. Since fixed costs will remain constant, fixed cost total will remain the same, but the fixed cost per unit naman will vary inversely with the activity level. Meaning, class, kabaliktaran, no? As the volume increases, unit cost declines, and vice versa. So that's your fixed cost. Again, fixed cost total will remain the same, while fixed cost per unit will vary inversely with the activity level. Alright, so as time goes by, alright, for example, Damon Corporation, all of its productive facilities had a cost of $10,000. Alright, so you have here $10,000. Total fixed cost will remain constant. Alright, it will remain the same regardless of your activity level. Alright, while fixed cost per unit will vary inversely, no? Regardless of the activity. As the volume increases, fixed costs will decrease. As the volume decreases, fixed costs will increase. Meaning, it will vary inversely with your sales or activity level. Alright, again, we go back again to our definitions of the variable cost and fixed. Variable cost total will remain the same regardless of your activity level, while your variable cost per unit will remain the same regardless of your activity, while your total fixed cost still also will remain the same regardless of your activity level, but the fixed cost per unit will vary inversely in your activity level. That's the summary of the variable cost, the fixed cost, and the variable cost per unit, and your fixed cost per unit. Okay, next one. So explain the meaning and importance of your relevant range. So ano bang ibig sabihin, class, ng tinatawag nating importance and the relevance of your activity level? Okay, ito yan, class, no? So in terms of a nonlinear, behavioral, also variable and fixed, please take note, no? So pag curvilinear, if you notice, parang hindi siya yung pag tumaas yung product or sales, it will also increase the cost, no? Ito naman ay iba, no? If you notice, di ba? How about the fixed cost? Ganun din. Alright, so hindi siya yung straight, no, na fixed costs. Alright, and curvilinear within the relevant range is this one, no? Operating at 0 or at 100% is the exception for the most companies, no? So companies usually operate over narrower range. Therefore, relevant range is the index range over which the company expects to operate during the year. So just only a graph, no, to show that how the curvilinear and nonlinear will respond or part of your relevant range. Alright. Okay. Next is all about your mixed costs. Alright. So ano bang ibig sabihin ng tinatawag nating mixed costs? Again, mixed costs here is combination of your variable and your fixed costs. Kaya nga mix. Alright? It contains both your variable elements and at the same time your fixed element. Alright. So it is also known as semi-variable cost. Why semi-variable cost? Again, because of your variable and your fixed. Okay, so that's the reason why it is known as mixed or semi-variable. Okay, so sometime pala class, it is known as yung nga, semi-variable because mixed costs will change in total but not proportionately with the changes in your activity level. Again, sometimes it is known as semi-variable because mixed costs change in total but not proportionately with the changes in your activity level. Alright, for example, rental of U-Haul truck is a good example of a mixed cost. Alright, so local rental terms of U-Haul company are 50 per day plus 0.50 per mile. So mini class, $50 here is your fixed cost, while 0.50 per mile here is your variable cost per unit. Because as time goes by, it will increase, no? Depending on your per mile. Alright. So again, the per dime charge is your fixed cost. Alright? With respect to the miles, again, it is your variable cost. Because again, ano nga yung sinabi ko kanina, class? Ano nga yung sinabi ko kanina? The 0.50 here, the variable cost per unit and the total fixed cost will remain the same regardless of the activity level. Kaya nga ang kinocompute natin ay the variable cost per unit and your total fixed cost. Okay. This graphical representation will show about rental, no? So it is for 1 day rental shown on the right. If you notice, class, total cost line, okay, and the variable cost will go up, while fixed cost naman is straight, no? So that's the meaning of your total variable cost. At the same time, you have your variable cost per unit and your fixed cost total. Alright. Again, we will discuss the CVP analysis on the next video. Alright? But ano bang ibig sabihin, no? What would be the classifications of the mixed cost in your CVP analysis? Alright. So, this would be the classifications of the CVP. Number 1. In the CVP analysis, ang sabi, it is assumed that mixed cost must be classified as fixed and your variable cost. Yes, again, it must be classified as fixed and your variable cost. Alright. Firm usually ascertain in terms of your variable and fixed on an aggregate basis or at the end of your time period. Alright. Using the company's past experience with the behavior of the mixed cost, no? In terms of your activity level. That's why here, class, if you notice, no? Very important here is what you call methods on how you will classify or how you will be able to separate. Yeah, that's the word, no? How to separate your variable cost per unit and your total fixed cost. So one of this example is known as your high-low method. Okay, ano bang ibig sabihin ng high-low method? Alright. So in terms of your high-low method, no, it is the mathematical method that uses the total cost incurred at the high and the level or high and low of the levels of activity. From the word itself, it is known as high and low. Alright. So that's your high and low. Alright. So meaning to say, class, no? We will separate the variable cost per unit and your total fixed cost by this one. Number 1. The steps in calculating the fixed and the variable cost under this method are as follows. Number 1. Determine muna what would be the variable cost per unit from this following formula. Alright, number 1. The formula here is change in total cost divided by your divided by high minus low activity level, and that's your variable cost per unit. And number two also, all right, is all about determining your fixed costs by subtracting the total variable costs at either the high or the low level or high and low level from the total cost or at that high level. That's the formula of your variable cost per unit and your total fixed cost. All right. So, meaning to say, class, this is also very important, no? Particularly in this one, no? In terms of calculating the change in total and high or minus low level of the activity. All right, class. Please take note of this, no? Especially in terms of computing your high-low method. Ano yung formula again, class? Change in total cost divided by high minus low activity level. Dito, class, nagkakamali lahat ang mga estudyante, no? Alright, why? In terms of the variable cost, the formula should be like this. Okay. Cost, okay? The cost of the high level of activity minus the cost of the lowest activity divided by highest activity minus lowest activity. Again, kasi yung iba kasi, class, ang ginagawa nila is, the formula is highest cost minus lowest cost divided by highest activity minus lowest activity. What is the correct term? Should be the cost of the highest activity minus the cost of the lowest activity divided by the highest activity minus the lowest activity. We'll give example, no? Bakit ganon ang formula? Okay. Look at this slide. Okay? Step number 1. To illustrate, assume that Metro Transit Company has this following maintenance cost and mileage data for the fleet of these buses over the 4-month period. So you have here what you call month. Alright? So ano yung month natin? January, February, March, April. Alright. Miles driven here is your activity. Alright. Total cost naman is 30, 68, 49, and 63. Okay. Please take note of this formula. Ano nga, class, yung formula natin? Number 1, the cost of the highest activity. Get first your highest activity. Ano ba ang highest activity dyan? Okay, ano yung activity? Miles driven, right? 20, 40, 35, and 50. What would be your highest activity? Very good. It is 50 on April. What would be the cost of the highest activity? Diba, 63,000? Not 68,000. Tingnan nyo yung February. You have a 68,000 there. O, diba highest cost yan? Yes. It should be the cost of the highest activity, which is 63,000. So, meaning to say, 63,000 minus the cost of the lowest activity. Look for the lowest activity. 20, 40, 35, 50. Malamang 20. So, what would be the cost of the lowest activity? 30. Walang problema sa lowest, no? Since the lowest cost is also the lowest cost of the cost of the lowest activity. So, meaning to say, 63,000 minus 30,000 divided by what would be the highest activity? Diba? 50,000. So, 50,000. What would be your lowest activity? 20. So, 63 minus 30 divided by 50 minus 20. And the answer here is 1.10. Hopefully, class, naintindihan ako, ha? Baka ang ginawa nyo dyan ay 68,000 minus 30,000 divided by 50 minus 20. Mali kayo dyan, no? Particularly in computing for your fixed cost. Malamang hindi yan magbabalanse. Kasi, when you compute for your fixed cost, okay, to check, no? So what would be your total fixed cost? So Metro Transit Company would compute the fixed portion of its maintenance costs. Alright. So the activity level, go first with the high. Ano nga yung cost? Cost of the highest activity. Diba? 63,000. Okay. What would be the variable cost? Activity to be multiplied by your variable cost per unit. So 50,000 times 1.10, you have your 55,000. In terms of your low activity, 20,000 times 1.10, and you have here 22,000. So 30 minus 22, your total fixed cost is 8,000. So dapat less, parehas yan na 8,000. If the same as 8,000, meaning to say, you are correct in computing for your total fixed cost. Sir, paano pag hindi parehas? Yun nga yun class a while ago, no? What if you will use 68,000 as the highest cost and it is to be deducted with your lowest activity at the lowest cost? Sigurado, hindi kayo magpaparehas in terms of your total fixed cost. Alright. So, maintenance costs are therefore 8,000 per month plus you have your 1.1 per mile, no? So maintenance costs are therefore 8,000 per month plus the 1.10 per mile. For example, at 45,000 miles as part of your estimated, so what would be your cost? All right. So what would be your cost? So 45,000 as your miles. Just multiply it by 1.10 and just add the 8,000 fixed, and the total here is you have a 45,000. Okay, very good. So hopefully class naintindihan, no, about this high-low method. Okay. So what is the essence, or what would be the pros and cons when you will use this high-low method? Ano bang sinabi? The high-low method now generally produces, all right, a reasonable estimate in terms for separating your variable and your fixed. However, please take note, it does not produce the precise measurement of your fixed and your variable cost element because other activity level are ignored in this computation. Kaya nga class, this one is that we will discuss another method, which is your regression analysis. Okay. So what do you mean here of your regression analysis? Alright. So ano bang ibig sabihin ng regression analysis? Okay. When you say about this one, as part of your regression, in contrast to the high-low method, regression refers to a technique in estimating the relationship between the variable and your fixed. Okay? It helps people understand how the value of your dependent variable changes with one independent variable is while another is held constant, no? So mini class regression analysis is used in a forecasted future data. Medyo class medyo may mga formulas to. Hopefully you read this one, no? Medyo malabo siya. Okay. For example, all right? So what you will do here is your x here is your activity, while y here is your cost. So, given naman to class, no? The 20 and the 30. What you will do is add all 20, 40, 35, and 50. Alright? And that would be 145,000. That would be the summation of x. Alright. Y. Just add all 30, 48, 49, and 63. You have here 190,000. The 190,000 here is your summation of y. Alright, next one. So, if you notice here, XY, diba? So, meaning to say, 20,000 times 30, you have 600,000. Alright, what else? 40,000 times 48,000, you have 1 million, 1 billion pala to, no? 1 billion 920 million thousand. So, just have this one, no? Then 35,000 times 49, you have here 1,715,000. Okay. You have also here 50,000 times 63,000. You have 3.1 billion. That would be your XY. Alright. So in terms of your XY, so just add all. That would be the summation of EXY. Alright. Next one. How about in terms of X2? So, meaning to say, yung X mo na 20,000, 40,000, 35,000, 50,000, just multiply it by itself. Okay? So, 20,000 times 20,000, 40,000 times 40,000, 35,000 times 35,000, 50,000 times 50,000. That would be the 400 million, 1.6 billion, 1.2 billion, and 2.5 billion. Alright. So next one. Just add all and you have your summation of EX squared, which is at 5.7 billion. Alright. Next one. This is the average. Alright. What would be the average of X? Diba? If you go to this slide, you have, diba, you add the summation of X at 145,000. So meaning to say, 145,000. Just divide it by 4 and you have your 36,250. What else? You have also here summation of Y. Sorry, average of Y. So in terms of the average of Y, so you have your 190,000. Just divide it by 4 and you have your 47,500. Alright. In una mong gagawin, no? Medyo mahaba nga siya compared with in computing for our high-low method. Okay. Kaya nang lumalabas to sa class in the CPA board exam. We go now to this formula. Alright. So what is the formula? So the formula here is the summation of EXY minus N to be multiplied by the average of X to be multiplied by Y average. So the class, it should be divided by divided by summation of EX squared minus N to be multiplied by X squared. That's the formula in computing for your variable cost per unit. Again, it is divided by, sorry, nawala yung underline. Okay, divided by to. Again, summation of EXY minus N to be multiplied by average of X to be multiplied by Y average divided by EX squared, summation of X squared minus N to be multiplied by X squared. Alright. So, go back to the, di ba kanina, we compute for summation of EXY and this is 7.385. Ito yung class, Go back to this one. Ito yun, di ba? 7,385. Alright. So, 7,385 minus 4 because you have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And then, you have also here your average of X of 36,250 to be multiplied by Y average of 47,500 just divided by 5 million summation of EX squared, which is 5,725,000. Alright? Then minus 4, the N here, and to be multiplied by summation of X, pero it should be squared, 36,250. Alright. So, if you divide it, class, it is 497,500 divided by 468,750. And your variable cost per unit here is 1.06. That's the formula of computing for your variable cost per unit. Alright, next one. So, next one is to compute for your total cost. What is the formula again for your total cost? Go back again to our, diba, ano nga yung total cost? You have your, very good, your fixed cost total plus variable cost per unit to be multiplied by the volume. So, TFC is equals to Y minus variable cost per unit to be multiplied by by X, no, the volume of it. So, since given na yung total fixed cost, di ba given naman yung kinompute natin kanina, no? Yung average, okay? The average of Y. Again, 47.5 yun, ha? Ito yun, no? 47.5, okay? Yan, given lahat yan, ha? So, 47.5 minus yung kinompute din natin in terms of your variable cost per unit of 1.06. Just multiply it by the X average, which is 36,250. Alright? So, meaning to say, how much would be your fixed cost? Very good. 9,075. Meaning to say, class, how much would be your total cost in the regression analysis? Total cost is equals to 1.06 to be multiplied by the volume plus 9,075. Medyo madugulang, class, ang regression analysis. One example again. Okay, ito class, medyo mas okay yung ano. Alright, again. So, another example is this one. So, driver, class R's effect, alright, is Y, and then XY, and we have also here your X squared. Alright, so in terms of this one, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that would be your X driving R's. That would be your summation of X. Y, effect also of this utility cost, 2960 until 2310, you have 9N. So summation of Y is at 24,090. Alright, next one, XY. Alright, so in terms of the XY, so 7.2 to be multiplied by 2960, you have 29,489. So just multiply lang yung X and Y and add all, you have 169,000. Million pala to. 746 times 100. Okay. So summation of EXY. Next one, you have also here your X squared. Alright. So in terms of your X squared, is that you have 7,200 times 7,200, you have 52,707. 8850, ganun din, to be multiplied by itself. And the answer here is 78,322,500. And so on and so forth. Alright, so in class yung formula natin. Alright. So how much would be the summation of EX squared? 424,510. Then after that one, ang gagawin natin ay, we should average our X. And the average of X is 59,710 to be divided by 9, or divided by 9, and you have here 6.634.44. And we have also here Y average, so 24,090 divided by 9, so you have here 2,676.67. Again, ano yung formula natin, class? In computing for your variable cost, summation of EXY minus N to be multiplied by X average, okay, and to be multiplied also by the Y average divided by EX squared minus N, and to be multiplied by X average squared. Okay. So, ito na yung class, da? How do we compute for this one? So, Y muna. Alright. In terms of computing, no? So, the formula here, so sabahin nyo na lang, no? Just compute, no? So, particularly in terms of computing for your variable cost per unit. So, meaning, class, the answer here for your variable cost per unit is 0.34. All right, so hopefully in your house, no, compute nyo na, no? So kasi ginawa ko dito para kayo naman gumawa, no? The answer here is, in terms of the variable cost, is 0.34. Okay, then compute na natin in terms of your compute na natin yung ating fixed cost, wherein your fixed cost is total cost is equals to fixed cost plus your variable cost. Since we compute for the y average of 2676.67, and also we compute for the x average of 6634, just substitute lang, no? So I think the answer is for fixed cost is 356.08. Ayan. So, how do we compute naman in terms for example, you have 4,700 as your volume. So, for 4,700, just multiply it by 0.34 and you add the 356. All in all, magkano yung ating cost as total cost? 2,035.0. So, that's your regression analysis. So again, this is my last slide, and I hope you learned, no, about fixed cost and variable cost, and also about mixed cost, especially in terms of computing or to separate the variable and fixed using the high and your regression method. My next is all about cost, volume, profit analysis. Again, thank you, and see you all. Bye bye.